Hey all, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we'll be looking at how we can configure or use AWS IoT Core with Node-RED, or in my case, Prescient Designer. So this essentially should work on a standalone version of Node-RED as well. So we'll be using Node-RED to send or receive messages from AWS IoT Core. Now, to get started, I have a simple flow setup here, and essentially three nodes: a trigger, and a message where I'm setting the payload to message from Prescient Designer or Designer, and then a debug return, which is essentially a glorified print statement in Node-RED. So if I hit this, you see the debug return here, message from Designer. So what we want to do is we want to send this payload to our AWS IoT Core, and we'll look at how to set that up. All right, so first thing, let's hop onto AWS, go to our IoT Core, and here we'll set up a new thing. And we'll create a single thing. You can create multiple things on AWS IoT Core as well. And let's name it, as you can see, I've done this before. So we'll call it AWS YT test. You have different additional parameters that you can configure, like things group, but we won't be going into those in this tutorial. Let's hit next. And these are the certificates that are required to send or receive data from the AWS IoT Core. So we will auto-generate the certificates. And now this is an important step, which is attaching a policy to the certificate, because these are essentially the permissions for your certificate, and you'll have to set them based on your application requirement. So I'm creating a new policy by hitting Create Policy button here, and then let's call it Allow All IoT YouTube. This is the policy name, and for this tutorial, I'll just allow it from all, and policy action is star, policy resource is star. And again, based on your application requirements, you can come back and update the actions and resources. So let's create the policy. Now we have the new policy, all IoT YT, and that should be visible now. While if we hop back to our thing tab, now if we hit create thing, AWS will generate those certificates, and this is an important step. You'll have to save the certificate because you won't be able to see them again. So let's download all the certificates. So we'll download the public key, the private key, and the Amazon root CA1 root CA certificate. Hit done. Now we'll need to find the URL where to send the message for AWS IoT Core to receive it. Previously, it used to be on the same screen, but they moved it to settings. So on the left navigation bar, hit settings and look for the endpoint. So this is the endpoint, MQTT endpoint, where we'll send messages. So let's copy this endpoint, and now coming back to Node-RED. All right, so now after copying the endpoint, let's find our MQTT out node and configure it. Let's create a new MQTT broker endpoint or configuration and call it YT IoT Core. And this will be the URL or our endpoint URL that we got from the AWS IoT. And the port is 8883 because it's MQTTS, and we're going to use TLS. So let's add a new configuration, and in our certificate, we'll use the file that's called certificate.pem.crt. In private key, we have a private.pem.key file, and then in the CA certificate, we'll use the Amazon root CA1.pem. So let's name this YT config add, and that's about it. That's the only thing we did. Now let's add a topic test topic as well and name this MQTT out node send message to IoT core. Hit deploy, and you can see that our MQTT node is actually connected through MQTT-S to IoT core. Now, to test if this is working, we can hop back to our IoT core and then click on MQTT test client. Let's use a topic that we just subscribe to, or which we are publishing to. Let's subscribe to it right here. And let's send the same message out. And you can see that the message right now, it's not in a specific format, but we have the final payload for our message, which is message from designer. So to fix it, I think what we can do is format it as a JSON object, hit deploy again, and then send the message again. And now you can see the message popping up on the AWS IoT core. So let's clear this and use a different message, UVCD. And if we hit send again, our MQTT test client, or sorry, the AWS IoT core test client will display the message ABCD. Similarly, you can also subscribe to a topic. So let's use our MQTT in node and use the same configuration, subscribe to a single topic. Let's call it test.sub. And we're just gonna output whatever we see from AWS IoT core. And you can see that it's connected. Now we can go back to our test. We can go back to our AWS IoT test console and then publish to our topic, which we just called test/sub. And then this is our payload. And if you publish, we should receive a message on Node-RED saying hello from AWS IoT core, IoT console. So I hope this helped. So this is essentially a quick way to communicate with AWS IoT core using Node-RED or Prescient Designer. And as always, please comment if you have any questions and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.